Hello, welcome back to Renee Ruth Music. How's everyone doing? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are they doing?
Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing.
Hopefully they're doing amazing as well. All right, so it's been a little over a year now since you've had a trainer. I know this is music, but last March
I was like,
you talked about getting a fitness trainer with the fabulous Ashley Parker.
Well, that had to do with you.
Yeah.
Because Chad is like, I've got this amazing trainer. And I was like, who? And he's like, look. Pulled up his Instagram. I'm like, yo. Yeah. Well, sorry, Ash. I didn't know anything about O-Town. I knew it existed.
I know.
That's because we're in his, I don't know why.
We're all the same age, yeah. I don't know we were all that age.
No, because the boy bands were Backstreet Boys, and then we were past.
Well, it's because O-Town actually they rose to fame through making the band. It was like one of the reality shows.
TV shows?
Yeah, and I wasn't really into reality shows at that point.
No,
so
didn't watch those either. What was that, college?
Yeah, probably. So yeah.
I just know the last boy bands I ever knew were Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's it. And then you hear of this stuff, so like I heard about O-Town, right? And then of course, like if you pull him up, he's totally famous.
It's amazing. We went straight from that to Broadway, and then from that to fitness.
He's totally famous. Yeah,
So.
he's actually like on the same wavelength. Like he's just, I had to interview to do this with him, and we share a lot of life perspectives.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like a natural fit. He's lovely, he's not pushy. I was like, I'm really busy. He's like, that's cool. So, I had, but I didn't really get very far with it. Well, I shouldn't say that. Like, I'm not a whale.
No.
So, there was reason to kind of stay motivated. But I learned something about myself that I don't, unless I'm shooting for like something, like this event or this thing, or like I have to have a goal.
Right.
And if I don't, I kind of coast.
That's fair. I'm kind of the same way though. I mean, because when I started with him, the reason I even got on was because I was turning 40 and I wanted to be fabulous.
You wanted to be
and he got me there.
Fabulous at 40, yeah. And then you hit 40, you're like, well, been there, done that. Like, you need the next.
Yeah, you have something to shoot for. Which we're actually shooting for a fitness competition. So, which will be in 3 months.
But this does nothing to do with music directly.
It doesn't, but the reason that you got started on it, I feel like was because of the music side.
Well,
look.
And I've had this conversation with my drummer, who's in the room right now, in the room right now. As you go through life, it is incumbent on you to. This is a well-oiled machine if you take care of it.
Right.
I was thinking about this today. I was like, we look at muscle cars or like these cars that, would typically rust and fall to pieces, but some of them don't.
Yeah.
Like some of them, decades later are these beautiful machines that are like, so I feel like the human body isn't so dissimilar. Like you can look at somebody at a certain age and line like 10 people up, and to guess their ages, it's all in flux because it's how you take care of the machine. And so I think one of the things of time passing is you come to respect the machine, and you're like, okay, I have the set of DNA and situation that I have, and so I have to do the best with it in order to live a long, healthy, happy life. And then I saw, watching Tom Cruise do his Top Gun, and I was telling Chad about this after I saw it, and I'm like, yeah, that dude's 60.
That's amazing.
Straight up running, I regardless of all the old man jokes in the movie, like these young guys call him old man or like grandpa or whatever they said, and I'm like, you can crack the jokes, but you gotta respect the man. Like that dude is literally taking care of what he's been given, and it shows. Like I think I just haven't, not that I'm mishandling myself, but I just think it's helpful to I kind of want to see what I'm capable of, and to shoot for that capability. And to know, like, how do different foods affect you? If you cut this out, what happens? Like, we're talking about cutting no caffeine or coffee for the next 3 months. What happens if you don't have coffee? Like, what happens? Right. How does that affect? And I think too often we're just consumers. We don't think, like, I want, versus, like, what do you actually need? And how do different, like, if you move to vegetables and away from carb heavy, like, it's not about we're not fat people. This is not about dieting because
Right.
we feel fat. This is about, you know, it's like I said, it's like looking at the body as this machine. Like, what is it capable of? To me, that's fat. I'm kind of excited to see what it is capable of. So I need a goal. We need a goal. So the goal is a competition in September where we're either going to go up there and look like schlubs if we don't stick to this, or we're going to look fabulous in 3 months, and we'll be sitting here doing this, looking back, going, "Oh, we were so frumpy."
Right? What were we doing? Why did we miss our workouts?
Why did we eat all those cookies?
Right. Well, and with the potential of touring happening, it's going to be really important to stay healthy.
You think about it, if you're touring, the amount of energy and the amount of, you know, it will only help.
Yeah.
It will not hurt.
Well, being on stage.
Well, is it John Legend who said that? I think it's John Legend who, when he toured, he got 8 hours of sleep. He didn't drink a drop of alcohol. Like, he was very religious about his. Yeah, like not your typical artist touring.
Right.
Usually the ones smoking and drinking have a really good time.
Yeah. I mean, if you're on stage every night performing, you definitely want.
And when the voice is your instrument, like I joke with Fred, I'm like, it's so unfair. I have to rest because if I'm not rest, you will hear it. The voice gives it all away. So if that's true about John Legend, I understand why. Like, the voice is a muscle that needs to rest. So if you're a drummer, what? Like, you could literally.
It wouldn't matter.
No. None of them. I mean, wind instruments, I mean, there's a breath component, like you can't, you know, I guess you have, but like keyboard players, like, your fingers get tired? Like,
right?
I play piano. I mean, they can get tired, but it's nothing like the voice. The voice is like the most fragile instrument out there, I think.
Yeah.
So like keeping this in shape is a thing. So learning to set myself up with, what's the word? Routines or, you know, creating systems that will be advantageous for a tour only seems like a wise idea. And then, not for nothing, I don't care how old you are watching this, we're all aging.
Right.
I don't care, you could be 12 watching this. You're getting older. So as we all age, like, it's making sure that we, you know, showing the world how to age gracefully, because it's possible. I don't think age has to be this like decrepit situation.
No, not at all.
It could be this really fabulous, like, you know, accelerating situation.
Well, and you talked, I think it was last year, you mentioned that you met Amy Grant and that she ate potato chips backstage.
Hilarious. No, on stage.
Or on stage.
No, on stage.
That's hilarious. Did you ever figure out what it was?
Yeah, she told me. So if you missed that episode, I don't even know how many we have now. 17, whatever.
Yeah.
I started this before Chad.
Yes.
Peter, thank you for everything. Chad, this has been an evolution.
Yes.
Now you get to watch us visually or just listen. YouTube is the visual, podcast is the Podbean is the listen. Podbean. So I was it? I forgot I went to that. I saw Brian McKnight. I went back to the 90s. I saw Brian McKnight, Amy Grant in one summer. Brian McKnight was amazing. But I paid for the Amy Grant show, I paid to have the backstage pass. And so she was putting on probably supposed to be a 2-hour show at the Virginian Academy of Fine Arts. And so I paid to go backstage first. There was like 50 people. Like, I was wearing really cute heels that I had no business standing in. And so I'm looking at the standing room only to like a huge long line to like meet and greet. And I'm like, oh, this isn't happening. And luckily, because I've been in the music scene in Lynchburg for so long, I was able to I kind of knew I knew a lot of the guys working backstage. I was like, can I just take a seat for a second? Like, I thought I was gonna be sitting all night. So like these 3-inch heels.
Not working.
No. So I just waited and I watched them tour out, and then I saw like the last guy go up, and I'm like, oh, I better get in or I won't meet her. So I remember I brought up the rear for this poor guy who thought he was gonna be the last one, because you could tell he was ready to like carry this out, and he kind of looked at me like, what? So I'm like, no, go ahead, you're good. So she was lovely. She literally talked to every single person, like it was the first person she spoke to that night. And then I came up behind her and I came up behind her finally, and I said, so I'm your last one. I said, you've got to be exhausted. And she just looked at me because like, what did me and Green trying to identify with you? I said, I think you're incredible. I could not imagine. Remember, the voice is a muscle. It's a muscle. I can't imagine talking to 50 people and then going out and singing for 2 hours. I was like, they should really do this in reverse for you.
Seriously?
Don't you think?
That's odd.
Who's not
I
thinking
thought
that
would have been
through?
after.
Unless they had to travel. Like, unless they were getting done and leaving.
Right.
But I would still be like, can we rearrange his travel? But it's almost like she saw a cat. She's like, you're a singer. And I said, yeah. Because you'd like, only a singer's gonna know that, like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I couldn't stand when I do gigs and go on breaks because I'd have to go talk to people, and I'm thinking the last thing you do, but you had to. Like, these are your fans that came out to see you, and I used to get a little jealous of the guys that would just go get a drink and chill at the bar. Meanwhile, I'm, kissing babies and shaking hands, and I'm like, I just want to rest for a second. So, yeah, I have, obviously, and I said that to her. I'm like, I'm not at your level. I was like, but I said, yeah, I know what this is like. I said, I have mad respect for you. And so then we talked shop for like a minute. And actually, it was like, I feel like we could have been friends. And because I see the security guard coming up like with that look, like she's got to get on stage. I'm like, so I think you have to go. But this has been awesome. And so she went on stage. It was funny. So she goes on stage, and I also then paid for front row seats because I've got to the point in life where I'm like, I'm gonna go big or go home. Like,
Right.
if I'm gonna go to a show, I'm going front row.
Go all the way.
Every time. Telling Chad I'm so thirsty like all the time. So I talk too much. So she was singing on stage, and she gets to this part of the show, and she pulls this bag of chips like from behind her, just starts eating chips, and she goes, "Where's Renee?" And I'm like, waving, right? She goes, she looks straight at me, and she's like, "If you're ever on stage and your voice is getting scratchy, keep some Lay's potato chips, plain potato chips." She goes, "Fix you right up." And the whole audience is just like, how does Amy Grant know Renee?
How did this just happen?
It was just like, I heard Amy Grant call you up from stage. I was like, yeah, she's friends. I love her. I think
That's amazing.
She reminds me of the kind of performer that I've always wanted to be. When she was so like, there was no pretension. Everything about her was so genuine. Like, she was just genuinely there to sing songs that she wrote, tell her stories, and just be a part of this moment with everybody. And you could tell, like, because she's probably approaching 60.
I think so. Yeah, I think she might.
You could tell she was road weary, and I guess she's got grandkids, and there was just stuff at home that she would like to get to do. And so I was hoping for her that she'd be off the road before too long. I think she'd also caught like a cold or something.
Yeah.
This was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
This was pre-pandemic because there was no. It was 2019.
Okay.
Oh, so she got off the road.
Yeah, so she
got to be those grandkids.
She got it just in
Congratulations,
time.
Amy Grant. That's awesome.
Well, fun fact, it's the grease is what helps clear the throat. The grease.
So she's right.
Yeah, I researched it. After I heard that, I was like, okay, I need to figure this out.
I didn't.
So apparently, the grease from the potato chips is what helps clear the phlegm.
She was right.
So she was right.
I just thought she wanted to see potato chips on stage.
I mean, which would have been completely fair. It's Amy Grant, so you do what you want. But
she pulled out some chips.
but that is actually why it is legitimate.
Yeah. Amy Grant, I will keep big Lay's potato chips behind me on stage. I don't know if I could straight up like eat them on stage. I feel like I'd be like, don't watch me.
Right.
She just did.
Where's my water?
Like it's crumbling off my face. She was so graceful, but everything she did, I feel like I'd be like a potato mess. I'd be like chips flying everywhere. I'd be like this. Let's keep going.
Right. Well, speaking of concerts, you actually have one coming up here on the 11th.
Oh my gosh, we have got to promote that.
We really do. We have to get on that. But it's coming up on the 11th.
Oh yeah, in like 9 days?
Yeah.
8 days.
8 days. 9 days.
Yes, so we're gonna do a show. The nice thing is it's a very intimate thing. There's only room for 20 people comfortably. Don't forget to order the chairs.
Oh.
There's only room for like 20 people comfortably,
Right.
but it's so fun. Like we just have this like hour and a half like event. We get together, serve wine, chat, and then sing. I sing for a group of people. It's just really cool. Yeah. So there's a couple people that are asking if we were gonna do it again. We need to invite. So yeah, we basically it's also live rehearsal for us for tour.
Right.
So we kind of keep that live wheel going. The sound that we have is much bigger than most of the stages in this town. So it's really hard to kind of go out and perform. So we just use the rehearsal space and invite people into our little intimate moment together, and it's really fun.
Is there going to be new music?
Yeah, we have one new song.
Alright, okay.
It's not, the song is not new. The
Okay.
song I wrote 12 years ago, and and it's been produced in a number of different ways since then. It would be new to anyone listening, likely, because like
Okay.
you know, that's what we talked about. Like, it's funny with artists when you look at artists that have come out. When did they write all the first album songs? Because it could have been over 10,
Right.
50, like who knows when these first songs got done?
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of, not a lot, but some of the stuff that I had John produce was older stuff, and this one is one of my older songs, and it's got a little Latin vibe, so it's fun. So,
All right. I love it. And we're also going to be streaming it.
Oh, we are.
Yeah. So it'll be our first time to stream the
Oh,
to
there's
stream the
for
show.
streaming. Okay, so
Yeah.
okay,
So we have to get
exciting.
ready.
We have to work on that.
Yeah.
The
we'll
poor
try
Chad keeps me in line. Chad's
All
like,
the things.
he has like a list of stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, about.
Well, because I mean, we had talked about it a couple episodes ago about how streaming is a great way to bring new people in, and especially now that your reach has even gone beyond locally. Like,
Yeah, no, South
like people in
Africa.
South Africa that may want to watch it, so if we're
Right.
streaming it, it gives everyone
Right.
the ability to see it.
Right.
So that way we can bring it to all of you.
Even though in South Africa, if we perform at 7,
They're going
1
to be
a.m. over
sleeping.
there. Yeah, but the
Yeah.
streaming would be cool for here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna probably do like a Twitch situation.
Yeah, so be
Yeah.
on Twitch, so you'll be able to
Twitch,
see it, 'cause I
so-
think it records it, so I think they can go back and watch it.
Twitch
So we'll have to
does,
look at it
maybe?
and see.
Let's find out if there's a way to record it and then download it so it can be uploaded to like a YouTube. Like we could upload this to YouTube so you could
Yeah.
watch this episode and then go watch the stream, the show we just talked about.
Right.
That would be really
Perfect.
fun.
Yeah, so that could be something that we can kind of keep doing, because we had also talked about maybe even on the topic of Twitch and streaming, that it might be something that you guys might actually start doing regularly, just maybe a song here and there.
Oh
Kinda
yeah,
just
it's
keep that
super
running.
cool. So my drummer is Fred Jackson. He's very busy studying for his real estate license in the other room. But Fred and I have been performing together for 12 years. I don't know, ridiculous
Yeah.
amount of time. And so in that time, his family has become like my family. I've known his kids. I knew his son before he was even born. Like Erica brought him on to one of our shows pregnant. Now he's like 11, I don't know, 10. So they're, you know, he's been like family. And so he's been in sales, but cell phone sales, like this entire time. And so I said, hey man, like why don't you come on to the real estate side and then we'll just, you know, do it all. And so
Yeah.
since he's gonna get his license and work with real estate, then we're just gonna go back and yeah, like Chad said, like just pop off a stream, be like,
Right.
hey, we're gonna do a song for you guys because it's been a really stressful day and this is fun.
Yeah, take a half hour sing.
Yeah, really
have a
stressful
good
day, so
time.
we're gonna sing this song and it's gonna make us feel better.
That's amazing. I love that. Well, in another episode, you talked about how sometimes a band will sound very different live as they do in the studio, because you don't know how rehearsed they are or the different components in it. But what you present is all you. You get the same thing in studio and the same thing live.
That's so, yes. I remember that podcast. Yes. We were discussing studio artists versus stage artists
Yeah.
because sometimes there's performers who are just good studio performers. They're really great, get them in a booth, you can sing a song, but then they stage fright. There's 1,000 things needed to come together for a show to be like you need it. Some people are good studios. Some people, you know, then you think of like the Britney Spears or the whatever's that were really great performers.
Yeah.
Maybe not writers though, because we talked last time about
Right.
does every performer write all their songs? No. Like a lot of them have it. Like Prince wrote songs for so many artists,
Yeah.
and no one even knew until after he passed away that he was like ghostwriting for all these major artists. So in that thinking, it was like just interesting to think about the different artists and how how I don't recall who I would have referred to because I don't want to, you know, it's not that, but it's like you remember hearing a track and you love the track, you love the song, and then you go see it live and it was different, and you're like, some people kind of want to hear the track, but then some people want to go and they want to hear it different. They want to hear the
Yeah.
live version, you know. So not that it's a bad thing to sound different, but for us right now, most of this stuff sounds like the track because we're running with a skeleton crew in terms of musicians. So
Right.
we play our parts, and then the rest of the parts are filled in by the production. So that's how we sound so much like the track. Now, if we were to, and I would love to do this one day, play with an orchestra, like a
Yes.
full orchestra, and play with like the bass and the, you know, multiple drums, like, you know, all like a full 70-piece craziness, it probably wouldn't sound quite like the track.
Yeah.
It would be this, but it would be this really amazing other experience. So like, for example, we're gonna do another song on the 11th, but we're not gonna do the tracks. We're gonna cut all the tracks and we're gonna do it live like I did for 12 years. Like we're just gonna do me on keys, Matthew on keys and bass, Fred on drums, and then vocals. And so we're gonna break it down to be completely raw. But that's kind of like when you go to see a show and they did the acoustic set. Like,
Well,
you know, like when Lady Gaga would sit down and be like, you know this song, and she'd start playing on the piano. But see, they always transition that piano bit to like the full.
Right.
But this will be like raw, the whole song from start to finish. But we enjoy. That's fun for us. Like we enjoy it. So I'm excited to do that with them because there is. It's not that there's anything lost playing with tracks, but when you're with tracks, you're running a very, like, you have to stay in that space, in that moment, in that time frame, come in, come out. You're controlled by the metronome. That's how everything stays synced up. When you're free forming, there's that. So this is gonna lend more to that like Grateful Dead idea, like that whole free form jam band, you know, which is not typically my space. I'm not really a jam bander, but I do enjoy like we just kind of like we want to do the chorus again, we'll do it again. Like, you know, we can't do that yet with the tracks because we can't just be like, yeah, let's repeat that chorus. Like if the audience is super digging what's happening, we're not capable yet of like redoing anything in that song. It starts and it stops because it's on the track. We have to have engineers and somehow be able to cue them to be able to like. I don't even know if it's possible. I'm not like that's not my department.
No, I mean, but that's very. I mean, it's very interesting because I always wondered why their live would be so much different. Because I come from the side where I'm like, I grow to love the music.
That you're listening
like
to.
I'm hearing, and so when I go to the show, I'm expecting to hear that because I love that. And then they go off
and do something
and
else.
do something completely different, and I'm like, what did I just pay for? I'm like, I don't understand. Whitney Houston, love her to death, but she always goes off.
Did that.
Constantly did that. Anytime I would look up her shows on YouTube, always went off, and I'm like, I would be so frustrated because I'm like, I wanted the song the way that it was performed.
So from a musician standpoint,
So
I think I could explain this.
Yeah.
Imagine I've got the show that we're doing next Saturday, okay? And we do that show 72 times.
Right.
Same show. So you, audience member, are coming to one of 72.
Yeah.
It is fresh for you. I've done this 6 times. Like, I want a little variation.
I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But again, like a true artist is gonna hear what, and I think my solution for that, because I can see both sides, like, cause I was the band, I can't tell you the band, but it was in my 20s, and I had every bit of the song memorized, and I wanted to hear it just like that.
Yeah.
And then I went, and none of it was like that. Not one song. I was like, it was the songs, but it was nothing like the album, and I was so disappointed. And I was like, and also you gotta think back then, they didn't have the same capabilities technologically wise. Like maybe they couldn't run tracks. Like I don't know what if it was like back then, but I just know it wasn't the same, and I was upset. So I know that feeling. So I feel like as much as the guys will get frustrated, this is what we even say now. Do something different in the space. So now guess what? You have to be creative, but your creativity is controlled, but you can still do it different. So the average person's gonna hear the same pieces, but then you kind of do your own little different thing here and there. But I think the answer for us will be these like one-offs where we're gonna not use the track and just go raw. Well, you'll finally see that. You haven't seen me do live apart from this.
Right, I was gonna say, so like once we get to touring and it's a little bit it's on a larger scale, is that what you think you're gonna do?
If they'll let me. I mean, at that point, I feel like I don't always have all the say. I have all the say on Saturday.
Right.
You tell me on Saturday, and if you're watching in its streams, you tell us. Like, do you think is it cool that like we took one song and kind of went rogue? Like, we're totally gonna go rogue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that would. I mean, yes, one song to go rogue is fine. not the entire set.
It won't be the entire set.
So
Oh,
that's where I feel like I would have been okay.
No, but maybe to keep it interesting for us, we would do the Raw Dog one.
Right.
Because we would. And then we would pick a different song to go rogue. So like, just, because that would keep it, 72 shows, that keeps it interesting for you, the artist, right? Because you're like, okay, so this week, or this show, we're gonna unclick this song and make this Raw. And so then every person coming to the show is actually catching a different show. Because even though sometimes those people, so something Imogen Heap did that I thought was so cool, but she's so ridiculously talented. She was at the Norva when I saw her, and I was in the balcony overlooking her stage because I wanted to see what she did. She's so tech. Everything she does is so tech, and she does it by herself. It's insane. And every show, she did, and that was what was so cool. She stuck to her songs, like they were as she did them, as she'd always done them. And I think because she's alone, she couldn't deviate because there's too many moving parts. But she would every show to make it interesting, she would write a song with the audience. So like, someone give me a key, and like people yell at a key. Someone give me a beat, BPM, that someone yelled out. And I always think that she probably planned it ahead. This is what I thought. If you're smart, she could be this talented. Imogen, I'm sorry if you are. She could be this talented, but I thought for me, it would not be possible for you to yell a key and I picked a random key. I would have the night before picked the key, and waited till I heard the one that I needed, and be like, yeah, G, because I already got G. Like I already got an idea. And then, but she would spin a whole song and like write a whole song, and then she would, I think that particular tour, she was giving it to the city she toured in as a fundraiser for one of the charities in the city.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like somebody recorded it during the show, and then it would be sold as a fundraiser for.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Artists have really awesome opportunities if they take them.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Cool. So I mean, as we said last time, this podcast is kind of the chronicles of the musical journey.
Yeah.
So, is there anything new to report on the label, or where we are as far as that, or touring, or anything new?
Nothing on the label yet. Still in negotiation.
Okay.
Touring is in the same boat, but yeah, we're still hustling away.
Yeah. What would you say? And I don't know if you've thought of this yet. What would you say your audience could expect from a tour? Like, how do you see that playing out versus when you do a small intimate show here?
Oh, I don't even know how I can answer that because I don't know what. There's so many definitions to tour.
Yeah.
Like, are you on a national level? Are you on a regional level?
Right.
I don't know. I think when I have my way, like when I have my way, like I told you, it would be an orchestra.
Okay.
Full on orchestra, because there's so many strings in the stuff that I write. Everything I write is very big,
And a grand piano.
And a grand piano, a Steinway,
yes.
full Steinway on stage. Yeah, there's many cool things, but all of them are being put in motion, and so yeah.
That's awesome.
Just have to wait.
Right?
That's all.
Good things to come, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, well, that's awesome. Well, that's all we got for today. Wonderful. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.